My parents gave my birthday to my miracle sister for 8 years, forced me to let her blow out my candles while I watched. When I finally snapped at 18, my entire family turned against them, and now my sister is in a mental ward. I don't know if this makes me the asshole, but I completely lost it when I turned 18 and went off on my parents in front of everyone. Now, only after my relatives are mad at them are my parents trying to apologize, but I don't know if I can ever forgive them. Growing up as the unwanted child really messes with your head. I have a sister who's 8 years younger than me. She was completely unplanned and almost didn't make it. My mom was in and out of hospitals that whole year and nearly died during childbirth. The doctors told her she couldn't have any more kids after that. Because of all this drama around her birth, my parents treated my sister like some miracle baby who could do no wrong. They would literally call her a gift from heaven. And I became just the other kid in the house. The forgotten one. Except when they needed free childcare, of course. Then suddenly I became relevant again, but only as an unpaid babysitter. The level of favoritism was so extreme that I genuinely think my parents have something mentally wrong with them for not seeing what it was doing to me. Now it's all coming back to bite them pretty hard, which I'll get into later. It all started around my 11th birthday. My sister was 3 then, and she cried because she saw a birthday cake that wasn't for her. Instead of, parenting her and explaining that sometimes other people get things that aren't for you, my parents forced me to let her blow out my candles. They just handed her over to me and made me hold her while she spit all over my cake. Everyone was cooing over how cute my sister was. Nobody even looked at me. I stood there holding this toddler, watching her drool and blow spit bubbles all over the cake that was supposed to be mine, and my mom just kept taking pictures of her, not me. Then they did the same thing the next year, and a year after that. Eventually, it just became expected that she'd blow out my candles before me, like it was some kind of twisted family tradition. My sister also got presents on my birthdays. Not just one token gift to keep her quiet, but multiple presents, often nicer than what I received. I never got anything on hers. When I asked why, they gave me this answer that I'm a boy and boys don't need to worry about that stuff as much. As if my gender somehow made me less worthy of celebration or attention. Every birthday celebration had to be at places my sister would enjoy. Never anywhere I wanted to go. Even when I specifically requested something, they'd find a way to twist it into something she'd like better. When I was 13, I asked if we could go to this gaming arcade I've been talking about for months. They said yes. Then we got there, and it turned out they'd booked the party at a place with a big indoor playground because my sister likes slides better than video games. I sat in a booth eating pizza by myself while my parents followed her around the play structure taking videos. It got to the point where it felt like my sister was getting 2 birthdays a year, and I had none. Mine was just another excuse to celebrate her. This favoritism extended to everything else too. Family outings, only to places she liked. Dinner choices, whatever she wanted to eat. TV shows, only what she enjoyed watching. I learned to just hide in my room playing video games because that was the only time I got any peace. I even put a lock on my door because my sister would just barge in whenever she wanted, usually to turn off my game or take my headset. Well, I'd get mad at her for that. She'd cry and my parents would always come swooping in to defend her. My sister developed this crazy princess complex because of how they spoiled her. She was demanding and bossy and treated me like her personal servant. If I didn't immediately jump up to get her a snack or toy, she'd scream until I did. She even had this stupid nickname for me that made my blood boil every time she used it. Servant boy. And my parents thought it was adorable. If I didn't jump to give her whatever she wanted, she'd cry to our parents and I'd get in trouble for mistreating her or not being a good big brother. I remember one time when I was 14, she demanded I make her chicken nuggets. I told her I was doing homework. She went to Mom and said I called her stupid, which I hadn't. Mom grounded me for a week. I tried to explain what actually happened. Mom said I was being defensive and that I needed to learn to treat my sister better. Eventually, my relationship with my parents became basically just silence. I barely spoke to them for long stretches of time. I just nodded or shook my head when they asked me questions. I went weeks without speaking a word to them. Yet during my high school graduation, they had the nerve to brag to other parents about how they were the reason I worked so hard. Well, they weren't wrong exactly. I did work hard to move out and escape them. That was my primary motivation for everything. After my graduation, we went to Chuck E. Cheese because my sister wanted to, even though it was supposed to be my celebration. Just another day in my life as the forgotten child. I applied to every scholarship I could find. Stayed up until 2 in the morning writing essays. Got a job at a grocery store and saved every penny. My parents never asked what I was planning. They never asked about college applications or what I wanted to study or if I needed help with anything. They were too busy making sure my sister had the right snacks for her playdate. Things finally exploded on my 18th birthday this July. I'd hoped, maybe, maybe they'd take me to my favorite restaurant for once. There's this really nice steakhouse I've been talking about for months. I mentioned it probably 15 times. I'd shown my dad the menu online. I'd even joked about how I was going to order the biggest steak they had when I finally went. Nope, they had my party at Chuck E. Cheese again. It particularly felt like a slap in the face since we'd already gone there for my graduation just a few weeks earlier. It was so boring. Just mediocre pizza and outdated arcade games for prizes nobody over 10 would want. But my sister loved it, so that's where we went. I rode there in silence. My dad asked if I was excited. I just shrugged. He didn't press it. When the cake came out, it was pink with white flowers. It had my name on it, but it was clearly a girl cake. Like something you'd get for a princess theme party. My aunt actually laughed and said something like, "Oh, that's so pretty," and my mom beamed like she'd done something wonderful. Then they set it in front of my sister to blow out, as if it was the most natural thing in the world. My mom was already taking pictures of her, not even looking at me. The flash kept going off. My sister had this huge smile on her face, basking in the attention like she always did. That's when I lost it. Everything I've been holding in for 8 years just erupted. I started ugly crying. Me, an 18-year-old guy, sobbing in front of the whole family. Everyone froze. The room went completely silent except for the arcade machines beeping in the background. I got up and just word vomited everything I've been feeling for years. How they made me feel invisible. How they'd given all my special moments to my sister. How I couldn't remember the last time I felt like I mattered in my own home. My voice was shaking. I was crying so hard I could barely breathe. I told them about every birthday they'd ruined. Every time they chose her over me. Every time they made me feel like I was just furniture in their house. I told them I was a person. I told them I had feelings. I told them I'd spent 8 years watching them love her and forget about me. Then I walked outside to sit by the car, shaking and still crying. Several relatives followed me out. My Aunt Sarah was the first one there. She put her hand on my shoulder and said she was sorry. That they didn't know about the cake because my parents kept it covered until it was time. I told her it didn't matter what she knew about the cake. They'd all sat back and watched my sister take over my life for the past 8 years. They'd seen it happen at every family gathering and said nothing. I never had any real celebration of my own. Everything was about her. I pointed out where we were. Did it look like a place I'd want to celebrate my high school graduation and 18th birthday? I wasn't even allowed to invite friends anymore after they dared to question why my sister got to blow out my candles a few years back. Out of 365 days in a year, couldn't I have one that was about me and not her? I started crying again, unable to control the flood of emotions pouring out. My Uncle Mike was there too. He looked furious. He kept shaking his head and muttering under his breath. My dad came out to yell at me for making a scene. He said my mom was crying inside. My sister was upset about her moment being ruined. Everyone inside now thought they were bad parents. I yelled back that they were bad parents, and they knew exactly why. I wasn't making a scene. I was finally standing up for myself after years of being pushed aside. That's when the family went full wolf pack mode. They all surged back inside with my dad. I could hear them confronting my parents through the walls. Raised voices. Someone's hand slamming on a table. My grandparents stayed with me and apologized for not seeing what was happening sooner. My grandmother kept hugging me. She smelled like lavender and fabric softener. She kept saying she should have done something years ago, that she'd seen the signs but hadn't wanted to interfere. About half an hour later, my parents came back out looking completely defeated. My mom was still sniffling, and neither could look me in the eye. They awkwardly apologized and offered to redo the party somewhere else, like that would magically fix 8 years of being treated like I didn't matter. But the family wasn't letting them off that easy. One of my uncles cleared his throat really loudly, and my parents then promised they'd never make me let my sister blow out my candles again or give her presents on my birthday. They looked like children being forced to apologize. Another throat clearing. They also apologized for getting a cake that wasn't even meant for me. Then they tried to justify it by saying they thought I wasn't worried about cake at my age, as if turning 18 meant I suddenly didn't care about having my own cake on my own birthday. That set me off again. I yelled that my age didn't matter. They'd literally given my birthday to my sister with no good reason. I told them there was no point in redoing the party because it was too late. They'd shown me I meant nothing to them. They'd ruined 8 years of my life. What future birthdays with them could I possibly look forward to? The damage was already done. My dad started getting angry, but the whole family shouted him down. My grandfather told him I was right, and there was no way they could fix the damage now. He called them awful people who played favorites and treated me like the black sheep since my sister was born. He added that everyone else was awful too for letting it happen, and I deserved more than just an apology. I deserved my life back. I'd never seen my grandfather so angry before. His face was red, his hands were shaking, and it felt validating to finally have someone standing up for me. My mom broke down again and tried to approach me, but the family physically blocked her. I started walking away because I couldn't take it anymore. One of my aunts chased me down and brought me back, saying I needed to hear what happened next. And where was my sister during all this? Still inside, eating my cake, opening my presents. My parents had actually served her cake after I cried and left. One of which was a brand new smartphone that she threw against the wall and broke when she wasn't allowed to keep it. Mind you, she'd just gotten a new phone for her own birthday a few months earlier, but apparently one phone wasn't enough for the princess. I spent that night at my grandparents' house. When I went home the next day, I still wouldn't speak to my parents. My mom kept crying because I was ignoring her. My dad was just silent. The atmosphere was so tense you could cut it with a knife. I just stayed in my room packing my things and planning my escape. The next weekend, my grandparents convinced me to go out to dinner with them. Surprise, it was a whole new party. My parents were there with those "please don't hate us" smiles plastered on their faces. There was a big chocolate cake with 18 candles and a banner with my name on it. They called it my belated birthday graduation party. Everyone was trying too hard to be cheerful, which just made it uncomfortable. I tried to act happy, but one party doesn't erase 8 years of being treated like I didn't matter. My sister was there too, sitting with her arms folded and her lip curled because for once it wasn't all about her. Instead of singing Happy Birthday, they sang some altered version called Happy Day. As soon as I blew out the candles, my sister let out this ear-piercing scream that nearly shattered glass. My parents had to take her outside and came back looking more upset than ever. I had to get a new smartphone. My sister's was taken away for breaking mine. But the biggest surprise was that the whole family had chipped in to give me a car. It was just an old white Volvo, but I loved it immediately. My grandfather had fixed it up himself, spending weeks getting it into perfect condition. He'd replaced the timing belt, put in new brake pads, changed all the fluids. The interior smelled like leather cleaner. My sister screamed again when she saw it and had a massive tantrum, demanding a car too. My mom had to take her to the bathroom and didn't come back for ages. My dad just looked defeated again, like he was finally seeing the monster they'd created. Multiple family members told my parents that my sister was acting this way because they'd raised her to be a spoiled princess. I started driving my new car right away, enjoying the first real freedom I'd ever had. But a few days later, my sister took a hammer and smashed 2 side windows and cracked the windshield so badly I couldn't drive it. My parents stopped her before she could do more damage, but she screamed and tried to bite them when they took the hammer away. She actually drew blood on my dad's arm. It was like watching a feral animal, not an 8-year-old girl. Everyone was furious, especially my grandparents, since my grandfather had put so much work into the car. Several family members told my parents they were setting my sister up for a terrible life by making her an entitled brat who expects everything to be handed to her. They pointed out that this kind of behavior would make her unable to function in the real world. My sister's punishment? Grounded for the rest of summer and sent to boarding school for the new school year. My mom cried about it, but my dad insisted it was the only way to start fixing the damage they caused. They finally admitted they were at fault. Hard not to when literally no one took their side, and there was physical evidence of how badly they'd failed as parents. My sister is completely miserable at boarding school. She hates the clothes, the rules, everything. She lies constantly, but gets caught because there are cameras everywhere. When our parents visit, she just screams at them for putting her there. From what I hear, she might be staying there until she's 18. Part of me feels sorry for her because it's not entirely her fault. She was just raised to be this way. But another part of me is relieved that she's finally facing consequences. My parents did pay to fix my car, at least. In August, my grandfather found me a job with a friend of his, but it was 40 miles away. He suggested I move out rather than commute. I was totally on board with that idea. Finding my first apartment wasn't easy. I had to get a credit card just to get approved for a studio, but I did it. I've been living on my own since September, and it's been the most peaceful few months of my life. My parents keep trying to contact me, but I rarely talk to them. When we do speak, it's just awkward and uncomfortable. My grandfather thinks they're just trying to ease their own guilt by getting me to forgive them. But I'm not ready to forgive them anytime soon. I'm finally happy away from them, and I'm not going to let them ruin that. Now they've got nothing. They don't have me, and they don't have my sister. They had to take more hours at work because boarding school isn't cheap. Neither was that makeup party or fixing my car. Empty house. Angry relatives. Nothing but work. I don't take any pleasure in their misery, but it is the result of their own actions. They had 8 years to fix things, and they chose not to until it was too late. But that wasn't the end of it. It's been about a year now since everything happened. I didn't think I'd be back here talking about this, but I got messages asking for updates. So here we are. What I'm about to tell you is mostly pieced together from what my parents and grandparents told me. So if it sounds too crazy, just remember I'm basically retelling what I found out. Yes, I'm doing fine, but the same cannot be said for my parents and little sister. My sister, sometime after everything went down, attempted several things to get out of boarding school. After none of her lies and schemes got her anything, she tried to simply do nothing. That didn't work out. Then she tried a hunger strike. She said she would refuse to eat anything unless our parents came and took her home. My mother nearly jumped in the car to go rescue her baby, but my father had to stand in her way and remind her my sister's behavior was their fault. My sister's hunger strike didn't even last 2 days before she was demanding food in the cafeteria. She wasn't allowed sweets or snacks unless they were healthy, especially since a pediatrician warned my parents that my sister was at risk of future diabetes and even possibly having her growth stunted unless she got her weight under control and ate foods with proper nutrients. As in, no more gummy bears on mashed potatoes. Of course, my sister tried becoming a bully to the other girls in the boarding school, but they didn't take her crap. One day, she picked a fight and got beaten up pretty badly when she was set upon by multiple other girls at once. As a crowd, they kicked her until they were broken up by a teacher. My sister didn't suffer any serious injuries, but she was scraped and bruised all over. Yes, she blamed everyone else but herself. I heard she actually stated that the other girls should just do as she says. They did not, so she was shunned by them. I heard she had quite the tantrum over it. She got in her way with everyone for so long that it was mentally inconceivable for her to not get what she wanted. My mother repeatedly snuck junk food to my sister at the boarding school, and my sister got caught with it. My parents had a huge fight about it, but my mother didn't try to sneak her any more junk food once the jig was up. My sister was, and still desires to be a junk food addict. That's right, she's barely changed in the past year. Are any of you really surprised? I'm not. She's only slightly better in the fact that she's somewhat more accepting she's not the center of the universe. Her schemes to get out of boarding school only escalated. After only a few months there, she resorted to self-harm to try and get her way. She somehow got her hands on a knife in the cafeteria and stood on a table threatening herself with it unless they gave her candy and sent her home. Yes, she didn't just demand to be sent home. She wanted candy too. I did say before that I'd seen her put gummy bears on mashed potatoes. Her favorite thing to put gummy bears on was food she didn't like because that's the only way our parents could get her to eat it. Can you imagine gummy bears on salad? It kind of defeats the point of salad, but she regularly brought a bag of gummy bears to the table when we ate. I can't even look at gummy bears without remembering. Well, my sister was brought what sweets they could scrounge up while they tried to talk her down. But at some point, she slipped and fell off the table. The resulting fall broke her left arm, her clavicle, and she had a forehead concussion. At this point, even the boarding school had enough of her and didn't want her to return once she was out of hospital. In fact, her attempt at ending herself only landed her in a worse place. A mental ward for children. She's been forced into therapy and diagnosed with showing signs of narcissism that she was raised into having. She cannot leave the ward unless my parents take her out. They've also forced her to continue her schooling from there and keep to a very strict healthy diet. It could literally be described as her personal hell. My mother wanted to go to the ward and get her precious baby out, but she and my father got in a huge fight about it. In that fight, she hit him with the nearest thing she could grab, which happened to be a bottle that was on the kitchen counter. The bottle broke on his face, cracked his cheekbone, and cut him up pretty badly. Police were called, and he had to be taken to the hospital, while my mother had to be carted away in the back of a police car. My mother ended up getting psych evaluated and committed for several months herself. She was forced to confront her own fierce desires to enable my sister. Turns out it stems from serious mental traumas my mother had from her own childhood, but no one else knows or will tell me anything more than that. There was and still is talk of future divorce for my parents, but neither of them have gone any farther than sleeping in separate bedrooms so far. As for me, well, my 19th birthday wasn't that long ago. My grandparents threw me a party at a restaurant they know I like. My parents attended, and so did my sister. She was briefly allowed time out of the ward. I could see the pure bitterness in her eyes. She sat there looking just like before, lip curled and glaring at me like she wanted me to be on fire. She'd lost a fair bit of weight by then since she hadn't been allowed junk food for so long, and her diet plan is going to keep on for some time to come. In fact, the junk food at my birthday party was the first she'd had in a pretty long time. But she still couldn't stand not being the center of attention. This time when I blew out my candles, she did not scream. Instead, she began ugly crying. I can tell you right now that this was just more of her manipulation. She was just crying and saying why over and over again. I know she's only 9, but remember last year she was 8 and demanding a car of her own just because I was gifted one at 18. She can't even get a learner's permit till she's 15. At my 19th birthday, my sister got on the floor to tantrum that there was no pizza, no gifts for her, no prizes, no nothing. Then she started cursing at our parents before trying to storm out of the restaurant. She was basically trying to copy what I did last year in her own twisted way. My parents just apologized to everyone and then took my sister home early. But not before my grandfather went over to speak to them. I got some details from my grandmother later. He told them that they better not take my sister party elsewhere or give her what she wants, because this will never end if they don't stop for good. After that, my sister was taken out kicking and screaming because she'd heard everything and realized her tantrums didn't work. She was driven back to the ward the next morning, and that's where she is now. I have no idea how much longer she'll be there. She's just a kid, but the most stubborn one I've ever seen. She'll likely not change until she reaches her lowest point. And until then, she's going to be stuck in a place that does no enabling of her demands. No one, not even my parents, have attempted to put any blame on me for my sister's actions this past year. They've had to accept that I had zero fault in this. They raised my sister to be a narcissist, and enabling a narcissist is also a form of addiction from what I've seen and heard. My sister has not been diagnosed with any sort of mental illnesses aside from showing signs of narcissism. In fact, she's smarter than me from what I've heard. She was tested as having an IQ of around 110. She just doesn't like to apply herself unless there's some kind of reward in it for her. She was raised this way, and I'm guessing it'll take years to make her better. As for me, well, I'm doing well on my own. I admit I had to learn to properly budget and take care of all my own necessities. It's not easy to adult, but it's still 1,000 times better than the life I'd be living with my parents and sister. My birthday this year wasn't the actual day to my birth. Instead, we celebrated the day of the belated party that was held for me last year, which is fine with me because the actual day of my birthday has been forever soured to me. I was born basically at the end of July. The belated birthday was held a week later in August, and that's the day I wish to celebrate from now on. People keep asking how I'm doing. I was doing fine, if not pretty decent. I admit it's been hard to adult, paying my bills, learning to manage my finances, and all that. But I was fine. Then somehow coming back here to talk about this has made me stressed. What's the term? Mentally relapsing, I guess. I'm not sure. I thought I was all good, but now I'm edgy and cynical all the time. My boss even sent me home early one day because of it. They're well aware of my past, but I still feel terrible. Just having coffee one morning set my heart pounding. I think I'm going to have to search local support groups for free counseling or something. I'm on a budget after all, but for the moment, I'm just trying to relax and take my mind off life. I might end up stressed like this all over again if I return here someday, so I may not. But here's what I know for certain now. I don't miss them, not even a little. My parents had 8 years to see what they were doing to me. 8 years to change course. 8 years to make me feel like I mattered. They chose not to, and now they're living with the consequences. My sister's in a facility getting the help they should have gotten her years ago. My mom's in therapy for her own issues. My dad's working overtime to pay for it all. Their marriage is hanging by a thread. And me? I'm in a studio apartment 40 miles away, eating cereal for dinner sometimes, and learning how to file my own taxes. I have a car that's paid off, a job that's steady, a grandfather who checks in on me every week. I have peace. Some mornings I wake up and just lie there for a minute, listening to the silence. No screaming, no demands, no feeling like I have to hide in my room just to exist. I got a text from my mom last week asking if I'd come home for Thanksgiving. I didn't respond. I'm not ready for that. Maybe I never will be. My grandfather says that's okay. He says healing isn't linear, and I get to decide what my boundaries are. He's offered to host Thanksgiving at his place if I want to come. No parents invited. I think I might take him up on that. Because here's the thing I've realized over this past year. I spent 18 years trying to earn love from people who were never going to give it to me the way I needed. I bent myself into shapes I didn't recognize. I stayed quiet when I should have screamed. I accepted crumbs and called it a meal. And it nearly broke me. But standing outside that Chuck E. Cheese, cry in front of everyone, finally saying the words I'd held in for 8 years. That saved me. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't dignified. It was ugly and messy and raw, but it was honest. And sometimes that's all you can be.
Alright, that's it for today. See you in the next one.